We finally have some answers when it comes to players and their injuries, and we're going to talk all about it today here in Locked On Blues.
Hey, this is Brayden Schenn. Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here in the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, we're going to talk some injury updates. Yes, we have an update on a player that we've been kind of discussing on and off all season, and then another player whose presence was definitely missed in the playoffs. I'm going to talk to you about some of the things that Brayden Schenn, Jordan Kyrou, and of course Jimmy Snuggy talked about at their end of the season pressers, and then we need to move on. I am ready to move on from Game 7. But at the same time, that 1.6 seconds still stings. It still hurts. It's still real. So it's a work in progress. But when I'm talking to you about injury updates, I want to make this very clear. Whenever a player is presumed not to play again in the NHL, it is something that's not, oh, well, this is a win for the team because I didn't like him. I hate that mentality. At the end of the day, you don't have to like every single player. And again, not every player is going to be your cup of tea. But to go out due to injury sucks. It really does suck. So that being said, because I know I'm kind of preparing you all, I know that not everybody is a fan of Torey Krug. I personally am a fan of Torey Krug. I liked his game. I thought, yeah, as a Blue, was he that impactful? Yes and no at times. But again, he was one of the older players, and it just sucks because I actually was a fan of him. So if you recall, to the beginning of the season in September, it was announced that, and I say beginning of the season, not like actual like regular season hockey, but the training camp, preseason, all that stuff. But it was announced that in his left ankle, he had pre-arthritic changes and that he would have to have a surgery, a subtalar, I think, fusion surgery. So surgery on the ankle, essentially, left ankle, and that he would miss the season. Now, back then, we went over some things that doctors said. We really did investigate on this podcast what this entailed. And I did a whole episode. So again, you can go back and check that out of what he was going to have to go through. This wasn't a minor surgery. This is something that was going to take a long time for him to recover from. Again, hockey aside, I thought he actually was great on the power play for us. Like, there was a lot of good things that Torey Krug did. He has a surgery, right? Because, again, there was a chance that he would be able to heal prior to the regular season. He did not. Well, it was announced today by Doug Armstrong that he does not expect Torey Krug to play again due to his injury and that he is only getting back to day-to-day life. So, yeah, that sucks. And there's no going around it. It sucks. It is not a way that any player's career should come to an end. It happens. And I'm not saying that it's just Torey Krug. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But I think to go out due to injury and not going out just due to retiring because, you gave it your all and it's time to hang up the skates, that's gut-wrenching. It really is. And there was a part of me that was hoping Torey would come back. Like, I've talked about this on the podcast throughout the season. Like, there were certain games where I said it would have been really impactful to have Torey Krug on the ice because I genuinely believe that he did help make this team better defensively. Now, was it a strong defense? Absolutely not. But again, having a big body like Torey Krug, who was really good on the power play for what it's worth, in my opinion. Maybe I'm thinking more so of him in Boston, but in my opinion, I just think it is a loss. And I really do feel for Torey Krug. He's 34 years old right now, and I know that's older, and again, I understand that, but it just sucks. He joined this team in 2020. He spent his career as a Boston Bruin before coming here. He actually was on the team that the Blues beat in the Stanley Cup finals. It sucks for Torey Krug. That was not an update I wanted to hear. It was an update that I listened to Doug. I took notes on what he said. And when he said that, my heart sank for Torey. That sucks. And I want to dedicate an episode to him this offseason talking about his career, because I think sometimes we overlook certain players and what they do for teams. And I'm not going to break down all the statistics right now, but I want to dedicate a whole episode to that because, again, it sometimes it makes me lose words because of just how upset I am for him, and that's how he has to go out. Another injury update we got was from a couple people. So this was number one. This is from Doug Armstrong. Dylan Holloway. Yes, we have a Dylan Holloway update. Underwent surgery after being injured on April 3rd. Holloway should be 100% for training camp. So in that statement, I have another statement. In that statement, it told me this. Dylan Holloway should be ready for training camp. Okay, well, if he should be ready for training camp, does that mean that he's going to be okay enough to work on some things over the summer prior to training camp? You know what I mean? So that's where I kind of question, what state is Dylan Holloway in right now? Is he still in recovery mode? I don't know. I'm assuming probably, but I don't want to make any assumptions. But again, when you didn't see Dylan Holloway in the 7 games of the playoffs, you have to wonder, how severe was this? What was the surgery? And maybe some new information will come out. Again, I'm not asking for anybody's medical, history in a sense, but at the same time, these are professional athletes, and it could just be a very general statement of what he got the surgery on, or what the surgery entailed, or even how long this recovery time is. But again, I am respecting medical privacy. This came out today from Andy Strickland on the Cam and Strick podcast. Dylan Holloway had some sort of surgery and was never coming back in the playoffs for the St. Louis Blues. So I was right about one thing. I said there has to be something that's going on behind the scenes with his health, which we now know was surgery, that the Blues are not going to have a statement on the status of Dylan Holloway until after the Blues get eliminated. I thought it was weird then, and I think it's weird now, and I don't necessarily understand it. I think if you have a player that's not coming back due to injury, what is the harm in saying publicly to your media members, to your fan base, or just in general, that this player isn't returning? But again, I've seen this with other teams that I cover, and there's players that get injured. No one really talks about it. And then at the end of the season, pressers, all of a sudden, it's this player had surgery. This player's, wasn't coming back. And I think at the same time, too, for Dylan Holloway, the impact that he has on this team is really outstanding, and he shines bright. So I would have loved to see him play some playoff hockey. But again, he's had that experience with Edmonton in the finals last year. So he has experienced playoff hockey. But again, my biggest questions with Dylan Holloway are still looming around the fact that I want to know, and I'm sure you want to know too, where his health is at the moment. I'm sure, Doug is really good about talking to media outlets. And if Dylan, he was great talking to media. I talked to Dylan when he came into my city. And again, I'm going to try to contact some agents. I'm going to try to do some interviews with some active players this offseason. And I'm going to try to find out some information that obviously he wants out publicly. But I am curious on his status, because that does kind of impact how things go. Because and again, there's more that I'm going to dive into with injuries and players' performances and just like a whole bunch of things. But for me personally, these were the two guys that I really wanted to touch on when it came to injury updates, because Dylan Holloway was a huge question mark. And obviously what we're hearing about Torey Krug breaks my heart. It makes me upset. And maybe it's because, again, he was one of my favorite players to watch. So, again, I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but at least for me, I did enjoy watching Torey. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the end of the season pressers, and we're going to mention it kind of throughout the next couple of weeks. We're going to break down certain players, but I wanted to start off with the guys that led the end of the season pressers today because I thought what they said was really interesting. But first, I want you to hear about my friends over at Bear Mattress.
An award-winning mattress can change your life. I speak from experience. It happened to me. After years of uncomfortable sleeps, I recently switched to Bear Mattress, and the results were instant. Bear Mattress is designed with a focus on recovery, cooling, and pressure relief to upgrade your sleep and improve your overall quality of life. I used to deal with night sweats, but Bear's best-in-class cooling ensures optimal temperature regulation, which prevents overheating and helps me stay comfortable all night long. Bear offers a wide variety of mattresses, but to get the right one for you, take their sleep quiz that matches you to your perfect mattress based on body type and sleep preferences. Go to bearmattress.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL at checkout to get 40% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. You have to use my promo code on the very last page of checkout to get this discount. That's bearmattress.com. Use my promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get 40% off site-wide. Bearmattress.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL.
All right, so today at the end of the season pressers, the first batch of guys, and each team does this differently, but they had 3 guys go at once, and it was Braden Schenn in the middle to reverse. Well, to his one side, it was Kyrou, and to the other side, it was Snuggy. And I thought it was really interesting because, again, you have like a captain, you have one of the key contributing offensive players in Kyrou, and then you have the young Jimmy Snuggerud who's played 15 games for the Blues. So I thought that was quite cool. But let's go start with the one word that stood out for me today, and that was the word accountability. Braden Schenn is a leader. Obviously, he's the captain, so yes, he is a leader, but at the same time, he is the definition of what a captain should be. Braden Schenn was very honest about the pain that he might have felt or that he has been feeling. He said, when you're that close to advancing and playing another day to the reality of where we are today, it's not a good feeling. That's sports, and sometimes you're on the wrong side of it. And I think for Braden Schenn, though, to truly just know, hey, we were so close, and that was on us because we could have been playing in the next round. I give him credit because he said, we're taking accountability. And that was the message going around the locker room, was the accountability factor of what didn't go right. And Jordan Kyrou said, it's just a shock that we're not playing anymore. So clearly both Schenn and Kyrou, they're feeling it. Now for Jimmy Snuggerud, he said that these 15 games were the best games and experience that he's ever had in his life. And I think for each of those players, right, it means something different for them. For Braden Schenn, he won a cup with this team. He's the captain of this team, and he feels disappointed, which I get. For Jordan Kyrou, he still has something to prove individually, but as well as for the team, he's disappointed. And I'm sure, just in general, he's disappointed. And then for Snuggy, he's playing in the NHL for the first time, and he was able to play 7 playoff games. So obviously, this was going to be a great experience for him. One of the statements that Braden Schenn said to me today, not to me, but said today, I'll tell you what he said to me, but what he said today was, you're not a playoff team until you're there again next year. And that stood out to me. Now, when I did speak to Braden Schenn at the beginning of the season, and I have mentioned some of the quotes that he said, he talked about how badly he wanted to take this team to the playoffs. And Braden's a competitor. I have watched Braden since day one of his career, right? He's one of those players that's very special to me, a player that I grew up with. But most importantly, he's a player that knows accountability. And that's what he really was just key on today. He said summer is the time for players to get better. And they now have a fire. They have a fuel to the fire. And Jordan Kyrou kind of went on and said, this is something that we really didn't have before with this kind of group right now, is this fuel. And Snugger said it too. And I think that it's really interesting because Jordan Kyrou said that this was the season that the team found their identity, which makes me kind of question what exactly was going on last year, right? It makes me question, why didn't they find their identity last season when they had a lot of the same players? And again, Braden Schenn said what makes this team so different, right? Maybe locker room wise, playing wise, is that they're playing for the guy next to them. They're not playing for themselves. And that's why he feels like this team, was different than previous seasons. Now, again, Braden's not, dating this back to the Cup season. Like all those guys were playing for each other. But again, from the Cup season to now and all the in between, you do have to question what was really going on with some of these guys. Was it, obviously it sounded like it was some selfish hockey going on, but you just wonder, your mind kind of just goes there of, well, who was it? Why was it that? And I think that, again, the response that these guys had about Coach Montgomery was really positive, and they're obviously excited to have a full season with him. But the word accountability, it's such an important word. It's funny because being accountable, anybody can be accountable, right? But it's the ability to grow from that. And when Braden mentioned about this offseason, the work that they're going to have to do, how it still stings, right? That just leads me to believe that something bigger and better is coming for the Blues. Now, again, I believe it was Braden who did mention that, obviously it's having the same exact team, changes always get made. And again, not speculating on who, what, why, when, how, none of that. But most of these guys will be coming back, obviously, and now they have a reason to play even harder. And for Jimmy, he scored a couple goals in the playoffs, and he really, in my opinion, stood out to me big time. He made a huge impact offensively. For crying out loud, we saw him playing on the first line. So I am really excited about him. And I think that for Jimmy, he has all the opportunity to shine. And I'm sure this installed so much confidence in him too. But being able to do your end of the season exit interview alongside with the captain of the team and a really impactful forward of the team says a lot. But I think that right now it stings for these players, as they stated. It stings for us fans. I'm still grieving, but I think the one positive right now that I can say is that they have fuel and they have Snugs, and Snuggerud he is something special. Like, he really is. And I get excited because I think about Robert Thomas, Snuggerud, Dvorsky. Oh, I'm so excited for him. Bolduc. Like, there are certain players that just make me excited. Holloway. And I think that's where my mind goes. So again, I'll talk more about what each player said specifically. It was a lot of reflecting on the game, which in my opinion, I had a couple other questions that I would have liked to know. But this is the way that it goes. And it is what it is. So again, that's why I'm going to try to speak to some people over the summer, because there are some other things that come to my mind about each of their season individually. And I think for me, Jordan Kyrou actually had a much better season. If you recall, he did get a hat trick during the season. And again, there's just other things that come to my mind. I'm not going to get too much into that now because I'm going to do all my individual player breakdowns. But I thought that word accountability was a really good word that I heard today. I'm going to talk to my friends over at Wonderful Pistachios, and then we're going to have to talk about the elephant in the room. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber, better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. I personally love my Wonderful Pistachios. So I get all my protein and I get 9 essential amino acids. So for me, besides it being a snack, I'm like, wait, this is healthy and I'm getting all that I need to get. Like, protein's important for me. So anyways, this is what you need to do. Get snackin and get crackin with the snacks that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. I think that I am ready to move on from Game 7. I am. 1.6 seconds. Some places said 1.7 seconds, whatever. At the end of the day, it was still under 2 seconds, and it was still one of the most painful things I think I've watched in quite a while. Yeah, it sucked. I think the reason why I'm so hung up on this still is a couple things. The Jets and Stars have yet to play. They play Wednesday. So right now, all I'm seeing when I look at the NHL Network, ESPN, TNT, like I'm not even like making this up. It's all highlights of like the final couple seconds of the Game 7 of the regulation of the tying goal. And it's making me lose my mind a little bit. So I was watching actually the Leafs Panthers last night. And right before that game, they had like a whole highlight reel package of the Jets in Game 7. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, I can't do this. I put on the golf channel instead before the game began. Like, I think that it's just so fresh and I have to give myself some grace. Now, am I going to look back and I'm already beginning to do that, right? And am I going to look back and think, wow, this team had a really impressive back end of the season, you know, a franchise record breaking season with the 12-game win streak. Like, there are so many things that I can be so proud of with this team. Winter Classic champions, multiple hat tricks from players, 12-game win streak, having Coach Montgomery now. Like, there's so many things, like Jimmy Snugger, the impact of Holloway, Binnington, like the list goes on and on. No, it is only 48 hours after one of the worst moments in recent Blues history that I have watched. Obviously, like the Binner injury in the playoffs a couple years ago sucked. But like the point is, like that, I just felt pain. I felt nothing but pain on Sunday night. I couldn't go to bed. I cried. I was miserable at work the next day. Like, I came on this podcast. It's like a funeral. Like, I was really going through it. And I think that that is okay. I am giving you permission here in Locked On Blues to be upset. And I have a lot of people that are Jets fans commenting on my videos, saying, let's go Jets. You know, the Blues were in a typical 8th seed team. Yes, they were. They were an 8th seed for the reason that the Jets won the game. They sucked at 6-on-5 hockey. They give up a lot of last-minute goals. Oh, yeah, 17 in the regular season. They don't have a strong defensive core. Like, I could list all the reasons why I still strongly believe the Blues played as an 8th seed team. But at the same time, I can't deny the fact that the Blues had stellar home games during the playoffs that really make me question, how did we get here today? For the guys, they're shocked too. They really can't believe that they're doing these end of the season exit interviews and not playing. Like, I think there is a bit of a shock factor just due to how they lost the game. They had the lead for mostly the entire game. So I think there is just a lot of added confusion, sadness even, but overall just emotion. So I'm giving you, as the host on Locked On Blues, permission to be upset. Tomorrow we're going to talk about some more end of the season exit interviews. We're going to just talk about a whole bunch of things I need to improve with this team. This is really, I'm telling you, a week where we're just going to talk it all out. All right, I will talk to you tomorrow. And like always, let's go Blues.